the project itself. There we go. YouTube is ready. And see that YouTube is waiting for Nancy to get on. And I understand that. So now we're fulsome. We can roll ahead here. So anyways, we felt there was a lot of internal discussions here. So just want to bring the team up to speed. We felt that with the advent of the sign that's going to be installed on site, that we really wanted to have the sign unveiling as the launch. We think that it's high impact optics, and it's an occasion, if you will, and that'll basically do it. So there's the artwork that's been sent to Commercial Digital, who has agreed to pro bono the manufacture and installation of the sign. So that's what's going to be. Do you want to? There's some details, Nura, size-wise in that. Perhaps you can share.
Sure. It's supposed to be 48 inches by 96 inches. I might have to get my calculator out to tell you what that is in feet.
4 by 8.
Yeah, it's a 4 by 8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so pending, there's a few other nuances with this, which is locates on site plus MTO approval, both of which are underway. We are looking at a rough timing window for this of the 17th of December, which will be 1 week this Friday. That's not etched in stone yet. That's our hoped for date. It looks like we're waiting for confirmation from the sign manufacturer that install can take place, but I would say they're optimistic. We're waiting for confirmation. I did check with the mayor's office today to ensure that that date worked for mayor, and so that will be our target. Plus, I actually just personally feel it's a good day to do it, and it'd be nice to get it in prior to the week of the 21st, which people will be fully ensconced in holiday mode by then. Not that that's a bad thing, but so that would be a date that would allow the sign to be manufactured, installed, allow the MTO approval to come in, and get at least our key participants, which are the people on this call, primarily there. And the strategy will be for the comms department of the city to, issue press release that day, et cetera. We have some plans to handle PA, et cetera, on site. I'm going to personally reach out to the cafe. What I was thinking, Mayor, was a little bit like what we did with the Dave Howe's unveiling, where we sort of had the reception inside and then moved outside for the actual unveil of it, something along those lines, and ensure that we had proper PA invites and all that kind of stuff, et cetera. So that, and that will also be the official launch of the website. And the website will allow every member of the community to participate in this, whether it's for information purposes or if they want to buy a sponsor, et cetera. That the goal is for that application to be live for that date as well. I don't know if anyone else wants to add anything if I missed it, or if there's any questions about that launch event. No, good. So that's the plan, and pencil it in, and we'll be back to you with details hopefully within the next day or so.
Barry, just a quick question. How do we prepare for if there's inclement weather? Like if there's...
The idea would be to use the cafe.
That's good. That's a great opportunity.
And I haven't organized that yet, but I committed to do it this morning when we did the pre-meeting, and I'll look into some other options, perhaps a tent and all that as we get closer. But right now, I think if the wet, like I don't really, the only thing would be rain. Frankly, I think cold and snow we can deal with, right? But making sure we have the right PA. But it may actually be better, Mayor, to use the reception and then just go out for the unveiling itself. I did have the Dave House piece of mind because that works so well. We just walked across the street, right? And
That's great.
Yeah.
Good idea.
If you're looking for a tent, Barry, I know the Combat Challenge guys have a substantially big tent. I know Ryan's aware of it. It is logoed up pretty good. So the sign that Nora had, I'd want to pull that up because I don't want us to be distracted by a big Combat Challenge logo. But they have a pretty big tent. It's pretty nice.
Okay. Yeah, some of these will be prepared. So as we get closer to the date, if we have to make some of those applications. Nora, did you have a question? Sorry.
Yeah, I know that in the original sort of visioning for this event, we had talked about a fire truck being on site. Is that still part of the idea?
That's what I thought. I thought we were going to bring a couple of trucks in as a backdrop.
Yeah, I would say that as many trucks as uniforms as you guys can get there.
Yeah, that's
okay.
what I was expecting as well.
Now, the next item I had, which is related to the launch, is just a discussion point that I had earlier with Ryan. So relating to primarily retired firefighters. And ensuring that some of those guys and gals were invited. And then I also thought, Ryan, and we don't have to decide this tonight, but we can take it offline as well. If we have them there at the launch, perhaps we have a meeting afterwards, just a little subcommittee of people that you would choose. And again, this is, as I've talked to you about, guys I spoke to at the Steve Bridges thing, guys that are dying to get involved and aren't traveling this year because of COVID, and it might just be an idea to assist with the fundraising component. And while I do accept the primary responsibility for the fundraising, I do also think it's incumbent upon every single one of us on this committee and otherwise to whether you're selling one brick or a $50,000 sponsorship, or even if you want myself or the mayor or someone to speak to somebody about this, it's an important part of being on this committee. So I don't know what your thoughts are, Ryan, about getting some of the retiree guys out and maybe having a quick meeting at the cafe with them afterwards.
Well, that's a great idea, Barry. We can do that. As soon as we have the date and time confirmed for sure, we can put an email blast out to our members, and we have a retiree list as well. And we can ask them to respond if they can be present, and then see what kind of turnout we can get. And that would be great to talk with them after.
Great.
Get them.
So we'll just work on that together, but I did want to table it. I mentioned it to Chief Upper this morning. I know you and I have been talking about it for a couple of weeks. So, and then from that point forward, we'll shift into basically two primary lanes. One will be working with CFC on their engagement, the execution of their contract, et cetera. So we did discuss reaching out to them, having a preliminary meeting to apprise them of what transpired at council, what our timing is related to this, and set up a regular series of meetings, which of course we'll report back to this committee on. So hopefully that'll get organized this week. And then from there, the other lane is of course fundraising. And we'll shift from this preliminary work to actual fundraising and the work that the contractor's doing. And then the other point that I had related to this was we had spoken, and at least this one's kind of something that we had alluded to at previous meetings, of seeing what a landscape plan might look like, and maybe we get you on one of these meetings with CFC, and this doesn't have to happen overnight, obviously, but my thought is that we have this fourth category of donor opportunity, which is undefined right now. So this would be a donor category between the bench, which is earmarked at $10,000 contribution, and the major sponsor wall, which is earmarked at a $50,000. This would be a bit of more ad hoc, and and I'd like to just, there isn't a whole lot of landscaping components in it. And I think that we could augment the entire installation with landscaping that marries itself to the project, and also provide a donor opportunity. So I don't mean to throw that at you exclusively, because I know, and I'm open to any suggestion on how to handle that. I just don't want to leave it. I want to ensure that we're at least progressing along what would amount to a potential inventory list of landscaping opportunities that donors could look at. So do you have any thoughts on that, or does anyone really have some thoughts on how we would start to incorporate that into what we're trying to do donor wise?
I think you would need a plan of the available space and the appropriate landscaping that could be installed there before we opened it up for donor recognition. So that would mean working with the artist, and then also on the city's end in terms of a landscape plan and approved landscaping and whatnot. So if we had the layout, which we do, we can probably run that by the city's landscape architect and start that conversation. But I don't think you need the numbers and the amounts and the spacing and the available space before you're selling it, basically.
Understood. So would it be a logical next step for you to show the current layout to landscape folks at the city and get them at least thinking about a landscape plan, and then when appropriate, have the meeting with CFC, the contractor, and see how those two things would integrate? And assuming that we coalesce around something there, then we would start to put together what amounts to an inventory list with potential sponsors. So it would liaise with first and foremost, the expertise of a landscape person. Secondly, compliancy with what the city's guidelines are. And then thirdly, integration with CFC and the integrity of the overall project. So if we got those three things, then we would probably be able to look at that and even maybe some estimation on cost range. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So leave that with me. I'll probably go out on site and meet with him and get eyes on the site and spacing and whatnot and what's going to be installed. But yeah, leave that with me and I'll be in touch with that. Does that sound good? Okay.
Yes, and appreciate it.
Mhm.
And then two other points. One is we will have our completed deck. It's essentially done, but now we got the shiny new faces of Chief Upper and Deputy Chief DeYoung to add into our arsenal of fundraising bullets. So we're going to have that by the end of this week. Personally for me, I already started to discuss sponsorship with folks. We also have created a what do we call it? Or a donor commitment form, the formalization of a donor form. So this will be, if somebody is participating, this is the document. I don't know if you want to, there it is, yeah. Pledge agreement, that's what I was looking for. So this is just the formalization of somebody's commitment. So when you're out there and you have friends and family that want to put tens of thousands of dollars into this project, now you have a form that commits them to it. Okay. And so the finalization of the deck for those that want it and want to use it for whatever purpose will, I think we targeted the end of this week, right? Something like that, yeah. Okay. That's the bulk of my comments. I'm not sure, Nora or Chief Upper, if there's things that I'm missing here or that we need to address with respect to the next steps in the project.
No, I think, Barry, with what we were discussing, I think you pretty much nailed it all.
Okay.
The only piece, like you said, is if we have inclement weather, we can grab that tent. And then we'll grab, obviously we'll have a good presence there from the fire service.
I think one thing that you mentioned briefly was that we do have some support from the communications team at the city, as well as doing sort of a media advisory and a press release. They're going to be preparing the donor page. And so there is an existing donor page for the Neil Peart Memorial fundraiser. I can show you that because our donor page is going to sort of follow a similar format. So let me just share my screen with you so you can take a look at what that looks like. So basically we would have some images, there would be a call to action, and then a way for people to sort of donate online, and a tax receipt will be issued for any donations of $20 or more. We are going to make that the $400 sort of pathway brick an option here so that people can do that online, and there'll be a little bit of a description. This is on a platform called AKA Raisin, so then all the donations go directly into the Fallen Firefighters Memorial, the fund at the city as these donations come in.
Great. Yep. Yep, and so that'll all be ready to go. Plan is for the 17th. So, you know, all the various forms of media will be ready for that day, and we'll get a speaker's agenda, et cetera, together. But that's the current plan, and I think it's a good time to kick it off right before the holidays. And like I said, I start meetings next Monday with some corporate donors. So.
Well, and I know there was some hope to maybe get a sense of what the contribution from the union would be. And that might be the thing that we sort of announce at the launch event, was the idea.
Yeah, well, I think as we get closer, I'm fully prepared. I think we all are fully prepared to launch, whether we have a commitment on a donation or not from really any party. If we have one that's signed and sealed, all the better. It makes for a more impactful announcement. But either way, we got to go and get after it. So we'll just see how the agenda and the comments shape up closer to the date.
Our expectation is we'll be all wrapped up and ready to.
Yeah, I know that does work with your timing. That wasn't we did want to launch before your timing, if you want to know the truth, but it's going to all work out nice anyway. So,
yes.
Having said that, I'll open it up to the floor if there's any comments, questions, or items that we've missed, because I think that concludes the agenda. So. None? Okay. Well, thank you, everybody.
Very sorry to interrupt you. Just wondering about the January 4th scheduled meeting that we have. Should we keep that, or is pretty close to after the holidays?
I get Jan 5 here, by the way.
Is that the Tuesday? Do I have the date wrong?
Yeah. This is what it says in the minutes. Next date of next meeting, Tuesday, Jan 5, 2022. Yeah, I read my minutes, Jan.
It's held on the first Tuesday of every month, so that would be Tuesday, January 4th. But it's coming right out of that long weekend.
Well, as a citizen, that's a work day for me. But
it's a work day for us too.
I say we keep it. I think it's consistent, and if you can make it, great. And if you can't.
Okay, sounds good.
And if we have to call an audible, just to open and close the meeting on a football theme. If we
Couldn't
have,
call one last night, Barry. They couldn't call one last night. It was
I gave you a
terrible.
nice lead, eh? Just a nice little opening. I knew it's just, I hadn't heard from you in 10 minutes, so I figured that would be perfect. And we'll make that call closer to the date. So seeing no other comments, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Yes.
Thank you, Ryan. Seconded by Nancy. You're in the minutes, Nancy. Way to go. And thanks again, everybody, for your participation. We'll look forward to seeing you on the 17th.
Thank you.
Okay.